Hello! Today we're going to make strawberry wine. It is a beautiful wine to make that everyone can enjoy. There are plenty about in this month of July. Prior to starting, let's see what equipment we need. For the initial fermentation we are using a 2-gallon bin with a sealable lid, a set of scales, measuring spoons and a 2-pint measuring jug. All equipment needs to be sterilised, and for this we have used a Camden tablet and water solution. To make a gallon of wine, which is equivalent to 6 bottles, the ingredients you need are 4 pounds of ripe strawberries, 3 pounds of sugar and a general purpose wine yeast with which we will make a yeast starter. The additives are a 3 mg vitamin B1 tablet, a teaspoon of yeast nutrient, a teaspoon of pectolase and 2 teaspoons of tartaric acid. We will show all these ingredients and additives at the end of this video, so don't worry about having to note everything down at this point. So now we start to prepare the fruit. Remove the leaves and the stems from the washed strawberries and place them into the bin. Now crush the strawberries with a potato masher until they are all in a semi-liquid state. Now we add the sugar. Next we pour in 5 pints of cold water . And now I add a crushed Camden tablet and now make sure by stirring that all the sugar is dissolved. Hear it grating on the bottom of the bin. We will need to leave this for 24 hours before the next step, so we place the lid on the bin until the yeast starter is ready. The Camden tablet will prevent any of the natural yeast on the fruit from fermenting. Here we are 24 hours later. Now that the yeast starter is active, we can put it and the additives into the bin. So, add the yeast nutrient, 1 teaspoon. Pectolase, 1 teaspoon. Tartaric acid, 2 teaspoons. And lastly, 1 vitamin B1 tablet crushed. So now, with all the nutrients and additives in, we can add the yeast starter. Waste not, want not. The contents of the bin are now referred to as the must and should be left covered in a warm place for 4 days, stirring daily using a clean wooden spoon. Hello, here we are 4 days later. The must in the bin should now be removed from the pulp and the fermentation process continued. For this we need a sterilised gallon jar, a funnel and a straining bag. Using the jug we pour the contents of the bin slowly through the straining bag and the funnel into the gallon jar. There's no need to squeeze the straining bag as we want to reduce the amount of fine pulp being transferred to the jar. Now all the liquid has been transferred to the jar, we need to fit an airlock. The gallon jar will then be placed back into a warm area and left to ferment to dryness or a specific gravity of 1000 or less. The length of time that the wine will continue to ferment will depend on a number of factors. Hello, it's 16 days since the wine was strained into the jar, and now if there is no gas being produced and you think that the wine has finished fermenting, it should be checked. For this you need a hydrometer and a clear trial jar. Siphon some of the wine from the gallon jar into the trial jar and take a reading with your hydrometer. To take a reading, we're going to lower the hydrometer into the trial jar and spin it gently. If the reading shows a specific gravity of 1000 or less, then the fermentation is probably complete and one crushed Camden tablet should be added. Now, as can be seen, the reading on the hydrometer is just below 990. So that to all intents and purposes the fermentation has basically finished. What we should now do is crush a Camden tablet between 2 teaspoons and add it to the gallon jar, and then leave for a further 24 hours. Here we are 24 hours later, and as you can see, the wine is already starting to clear. We must now rack or siphon the wine into another clean jar using a plastic tube with a siphon tube. This is the attachment that allows you to draw the wine downwards rather than sucking the sediment upwards. Now I need to top up the jar with cold water to compensate for the sediment that was left in the jar when we siphoned it off. When I've done this, I plug the jar with a cork which is plugged with cotton wool. The wine must now be left to completely clear, placed in a cooler environment. This will normally happen without any assistance. Leave the wine to settle and rack again after 3 months, adding 1 crushed Camden tablet to avoid the delicate strawberry flavour being destroyed by oxidation. When the wine is clear enough, it can be transferred to clean bottles and left to further mature for at least 6 months. The bottling is done using the same siphoning process we've just done, being careful to leave at least ½ an inch between the bottom of the cork and the top of the wine. We wish you all the best with your winemaking and hope that the process you've watched today will help you. Our online winemaking help site is available to answer any questions that you may have and is a free service that we offer.